Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to yet another edition of International Forum. I am Wilson Omasha. Today, it's all about the spy game. You've heard about spy balloons being flown over the airspace of US, Canada, and of course Joe Biden, the president of the US, ordered those balloons to be shot down. Guess what? The balloons right now in question, they are balloons from China. Chinese government said, look, these balloons are just bringing down just for research purposes, nothing else. They're saying, no, we don't believe you. And China also accused the US of sending some surveillance across their airspace. Nobody heard about it. Come on, what can you make out of this? And strangely, these two strange bedfellows, they are still lying in the same bed, doing business together, doing trade. I wonder what is really going on. Anyway, with me here in the studio to talk about this, I have a legal practitioner, political press commentator. Join me to welcome Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. Barrister, welcome to International Forum. I appreciate you coming. All right. And I have Honorable Frank Amego, a lecturer, a clergyman, political analyst. Welcome, Honorable. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. When Joe Biden was met at an airport in the US, he said, look, I was the one that ordered the shutdown, or the shooting down rather, of these balloons. They pose national threat to our airspace, and we cannot have a Chinese balloon marauding or parading around or floating about US airspace. That was the beginning of all this. In the time of Trump, yes, like what you rightly said off camera, they've sent the balloons, just going around the US airspace, do whatever they want to do. Nobody took cognizance of the impact of the presence of this balloon. Why now, during Joe Biden's administration? Over to you, Barrister.
Well, if you look at the relationship between China and the United States of America just now, it's getting sour by the day. In fact, by the second. The once upon a time pendulum of relationship that swings between the people, the both nations or states in international law just now, swings between the two states, is no longer swinging because China seems to be at the back of every other nation that is having one issue or the other with the United States of America. Just like if you look at it, you see that China seems to have a very good relationship with Russia. And Russia just now is a nation that most world powers, so to speak, are not in good relationship with the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Now you also we saw some time ago the bitter relationship between China and Taiwan, and almost so how the United States of America, the visit of a top official of the United States of America to Taiwan.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, as at that time when the problem was very hot. Now, looking at that, if you give a summation of all of this drama that has happened, then it will be worrisome to suddenly see a balloon from China at the airspace of the United States of America, because there is no good relationship between the two of them. Just now, the relationship that does exist between them is a pretentious one.
Pretentious.
Yes. So looking at it, it is worrisome and laughable on the other side of it for China to have sent a balloon to the airspace of the United States of America, Carolina coast, so to speak. And if you look at it, during Trump, they wear balloons 3 times on record. That 3 times the balloon, but the balloon didn't last for long, just came and they left. But this time around, the balloon first appeared on Monday last week, and the United States of America President Joe Biden was briefed immediately. Then on Tuesday, the thing appeared again. Suddenly, these people began to say, there was not threats. So because of the threats, I think I will give it to the United States of America, who were patient from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until Saturday, when the balloon was brought down. Though just now, China is claiming that it's a gross violation of international practice. That is what the United States of America has just done, and that the balloon is for weather research. The question to ask: are you researching the weather of another man's land? You did not research your own weather. You now left your airspace and go to the airspace of another man to research the weather of that man. I think that question needs an answer from China.
All right, so we'll come back to you, Barrister Emmanuel Obapolo. Well, Honorable Frank, you heard there's a submission in cause of this discussion. After all, China said, look, it's a balloon for weather research purpose. You using a missile to bring down this balloon is like, you know, using excessive force. You overreacting. There's nothing to it. Take it up from there. Don't forget that also a U.S. jet went over Canadian airspace to bring down what they call UFO also that came in from China. All right.
Okay, my concern really is not that the first spy balloon came 4th February. Second or the third was brought down. The third on the 11th. Then the fourth one now on the 12th, which is on Sunday. My concern now is how many of the spy balloons have been let out from China. What I think is happening is a collaboration between China and Russia trying to ascertain the intelligence gathering capabilities of US. By this I mean, let's see if we launch out a balloon to the US space, let's see how long it will take the US authority to notice it. And now they have seen 4 in this month alone.
4 in this month?
4, yeah, from 4th to 10th, 11th, 12th. So they have seen 4. Is it possible that there are much more than that? The major challenge now is they can never ascertain the true nature of that object. It could be maybe a UFO, like unidentified flying object. And all these balloons are being unmanned. But the good thing now is they have not been able to let out any destructive element from them. What the US is trying to do now is to find out, after the destruction, they will get the parts and analyze. So my fear now is how many of those spy balloons have been let out. But along the line, one of the Chinese officials said, if US is crying over just 4, in about a year ago, US brought about 10 to China airspace. So maybe it's an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, I wouldn't know. But the challenge now is, why would China allow that come to their airspace? It has gone around Alabama, Canada, even Michigan. It has gone around like that. And along the line, the British Prime Minister is scared. And they are also battle ready. So this must have the implications in other crimes. So what China is doing now is not necessarily China doing it alone. Russia is part of it. Since you won't let us...
Russia hasn't been fingered yet in this particular situation.
Maybe if you turn the page, you'll see Russia there. But right now, the direction is from China. So that's what they are saying so. So China will not be doing a thing like that, trying to check the American intelligence gathering capabilities without Russia not being the know. Let's see what they can really do. They are claimed to be the world police, as you said, or they also claim to be the world superpower. Let's invade their airspace, 12 GMT. Let's see how long to take them to notice our presence. They are gathering information. And US is not comfortable with it. They have a major challenge in the US now, the purpose by which these balloons are flying. And I'm adding to their fear now, how many of the balloons are there? So far, you have detected 4 from 4th February to Sunday. You have detected 4. Are they much more than that? So the capacity of the US aero scientists is being challenged now. So to me, if they could detect 1, now 4 together, they could be more than that. More than that because, as I said earlier, one Chinese official said, US did 10 in their airspace. So is it that they have released 10 to US airspace and US has been able to detect only 4? And that would be a kind of good news for the Chinese government. They gave us 10, we detected 10. Maybe we are giving them 10, they are able to detect 4. It means their facilities are not sensitive enough to detect much more than 4. So that's why our US now is agitated, trying to make some statements to show to China that they are not just sleeping. But China is not moved. Because
China is not moved.
Because they know what they are doing. US try to unravel the reason or reasons behind the release of the spy balloons.
All right, unraveling the reasons or reason behind the release of the spy balloon. But some of these balloons were confiscated already. They went to the sea to retrieve the debris of the balloon. Nothing substantial was seen. I mean, there's nothing there that really caused a nation to start panicking. Why the aggression?
Yeah, I think there is a power play here, and this the nature of this power play is to downplay the power of the other, because looking at the history between the two states in international community, you begin to discover that right from 1970. There was this honor and respect given to the United States of America by the Chinese government. But most recent, we begin to see a lot of challenge from the Chinese government to the United States of America. Because China also want to tell the world that, look, we are here. And we have so much to offer. We have so much in our kitty. And if you look at us and you downplay our capability and ability and strength, it may be to your own risk and detriment. So, but the United States of America also, on her part, has over the years tested the waters, wherein she used some of the neighbors of the Chinese Republic, particular countries like Taiwan, you have Japan, you have South Korea, then the others, you get it. So when you look at all of these, significantly, there is a power play, just like I said, and that power play is to downplay the power of the other. Look at the way events are unfolding. You begin to discover that so much trouble for the world just now. The world is faced with so much catastrophe. You even have some natural, you have some economical, and now security of the world is most threatened. The world did not even witness this kind of security threat she had before the outbreak of the First and the Second World War. But just now, the world has witnessed a lot of security threats, yet the world seems to be one, or appear to be one, because some of these crises were and are managed consciously or unconsciously, or with some parameter of pretense or instrument by the power players. So if you begin to look at all of this, you discover that something is wrong somewhere, and all of these may play out. But we do hope and pray that what some of these power bulldozers, as they see themselves now, want will not eventually emerge. Because if it does, then the world may no longer be one as we see it. Okay. So this struggle, for me, it is a senseless one.
A senseless one.
Yes.
All right. Now, for what he said, this is all about power play and, of course, national security. Take it up from there.
Yes, the challenge is not really far from trying to show the show of strength. And along the line, a lot of destructions have been made. US, for one reason or the other, we all got to know that they are the superpower. I wouldn't know whether there was a vote cast to say you have won, so from this moment till infinity, you are not a superpower. So a lot of nations have come to realize that this power should also shift in another direction. So that's the basis for the power play. So over the years, US has been kind of sending their own spy balloons everywhere. Even Nigeria airspace, we don't even know what is happening there. A lot of things would have happened. Was it not a year or two ago when some Americans were kidnapped in Nigeria? The American government sent some of their persons down to Nigeria, released their citizens, returned them back to US before they now informed the Nigerian government that this was what we did. So America tends to be doing all these things with or without resistance. Maybe China wants to say, okay, let's also test theirs. They claim to know everything. I'm still fingering Russia in this business. Because for China to just wake up to say, let's release this balloon to them. And there's no way Russia would not have been aware. So you check, I will stay at the back, you be going, I'll watch your back. Let's see the reactions of the US. And true to it, American government is scared right now. Though they are united in a fight against the release of such a balloon to their country, but there's a palpable fear now. What has this thing got to do in our airspace per time? As I've said, with the fear of why they released the balloon, I'm adding a second fear of how many have they released. And we have detected 4 so far. So right now, it's just that you are showing to some persons that you are the most powerful person in this neighborhood. Until one guy came from outside one day and brought the person down. And from there, we now begin to see that the shift of attention is going elsewhere. Take note already, in terms of trade and investment, China is just at par with US. And US is not comfortable with that. Now you're going to leave economy or trade, and now you're going to make us and start dragging with us things about security. So it is not a sleepless night. Sorry, it is a sleepless night for the US right now. They are wondering per time what the matter is.
All right, we'll continue this discussion after this break. Do not go away. This is International Forum. Do stay tuned. To this channel, if you just joined us, this is International Forum on ITV. We're taking a look at the US-China relation or China-US relation, the shooting out of Chinese spy balloons by the US government. Now, he talked about fear, the fear factor. And of course, Beijing issued a statement saying, why would you use excessive force on a balloon? I mean, missiles were used on a balloon. Come on. What is US afraid of? According to you, they are number one. They are the police of the world.
Yeah, yes, the strongest man is the most feared man. Even when you are so strong, you would have this fear of securing your territory. More so when your territory begins to expand, as it is now with the United States of America. There are some nations that are the darling of the United States of America. So America is not just scared in protecting the United States, the territory known as the United States of America alone. They also go extra mile in protecting some of these their darling nations. You get it? So in doing that, suddenly a balloon appeared in your airspace. And I want to believe that scientifically and technologically, they've tried to know the content of that balloon. And perhaps no reports or results came from that angle. So our best bet is to bring down that balloon. And I think that's
with missiles.
Yes, even if it will take more than
missiles, balloon with missiles.
Even if it will take more than missiles. We once upon a time we saw and heard a man threatening to use Satan 2 against the whole world. So if a man can threaten to use Satan 2, then what is there for somebody to use missile to bring down a balloon, a floating balloon? So when you look at all, like we have agreed just now, is that there is a power play somewhere between the nations, the superpowers of the world. Because if you look at it, just now the relationship amongst the superpowers of the world is not cordial. So there is disagreement in every nook and cranny. There is disagreement in even policies that they make to secure themselves. There are disagreements in all of their supposed agreements and bilateral relationship. So it goes to tell that something fundamental is wrong with the diplomatic approach amongst the international community, particularly the superpowers. So when there is a puncture on every diplomatic arrangement amongst the superpower nations, then when any of them sneezes, the other one quivers. And that is why you saw, and that is why we are experiencing just now, that immediately a balloon from China appeared in the airspace of the United States of America. There was a quiver. Somebody sneezed somewhere, and another man quivers who was not a party to the sneeze. So in all of this, the power struggle, the power downplay amongst them is straight to the whole world. So while we discuss some of these their diplomatic arrangements, even we that are discussants, we are also threatened.
In what ways?
Once upon a time, Prof said it, once upon a time, we saw the United States came into the territory of Nigeria, not minding the sovereignty of Nigeria, and took away one of their own. And do you know, the next moment, when they got to their home and now sent the report that, look, we did this some days ago, somebody came out and defended that we were aware. Now, if you look at it,
Yes.
are we not being threatened? We are. And that is why you see that in the United States of America, they wouldn't take things like that easily. Or like we here, where reports has it that somewhere helicopter will land, bring food, bring weapons to some people, then the next thing, government officials will appear and tell you there was never anything like that. So these people, now the Republicans in the Congress, they were even accusing Joe Biden, the president of the United States of America, not to have taken action on time. That why the delay? You get it? And all of that is another political drama.
We'll get to that drama.
Face.
We'll get to that drama. Now, the U.S. went beyond the U.S. airspace, went to Canadian airspace also to bring down what they call UFO. I mean, you going beyond your airspace, is that not really excessive?
Yeah.
What has Canada airspace got to do with the U.S. airspace? Does it really make sense? Does it really add up?
So much it has to do with US. You cannot, it's like snake and shell. You can't separate them, otherwise the snake will die. If you say US, you are directly talking about Canada, because they're like all identical twins. They are very related. So anything happening to Canada directly will affect US. So if Canada is being threatened and US kept mute, US will suffer it. And that's the major challenge Russia is having with Ukraine, allowing NATO to have a base there. Because there's a NATO base there, they are finished. So if the China balloon could enter the airspace of Canada, it means entering US will not be any major challenge. So what US did at that point was the right thing. Those parliamentarians, they shouldn't bring in politics into it. Because if the sky is going to fall, as we say in Benin, the sky is going to fall, it will kill one person. So if Joe Biden acted very quickly, they say, no, that was too quick. So it took some time to study the balloons. They know he wasted too much time. So is it because their own person is not the president? So this is a time to come together as a united family, as the name suggests, United States. So this is not a time to be disunited. So they should speak with one voice. And what happened to them now has never happened. I'm sure if it happens later on in the year, the agitation or the fear will not be as much as this. So it's like the first time we are noticing a thing like this. Could it also be a third fear I'm going to add to it now? The fear of why did they come? Add then a second fear to it. How many balloons have been released? So the third fear now is, when did they start releasing the balloons? You did that on the 4th of February. Could it be that these balloons were released or they have been there since last year? Because the Chinese official that spoke said, US did that 10 times. And they were able to deter the 10 balloons released. So could it be at the same time that the US balloon there that they released theirs? If that was the case, it means these balloons have been there before the 4th of February. So that creates a lot of tensions. Now, if there's any neighboring place, even Mexico, if the spy balloon from China gets to Mexico, American government will still be agitated. Because they're going to man all neighboring countries around them. If they don't, it becomes a launch pad for the enemies against them. So that they went ahead to challenge the spy balloon that went through the Canadian airspace was the right step in the right direction.
But the Chinese government is saying, look, these are not spy balloons. These are just balloons used to, take a look at the weather. These are experimental balloons. They mean no harm. After all, you guys sent 10. We will know that drastic in our own reaction. They use excessive force to bring down the balloon. This is the Chinese government from Beijing speaking. Does it really now mean that if you put both countries on the table with their airspace, does it has any political inclination? Is it because of U.S. stand with Taiwan against China? Or is it because U.S. stand, like what you rightly said, Russia and Ukraine? If you want to factor in politics into all this mathematics or geography, what is really going on?
Like I did say,
yes,
there is a puncture in diplomatic relations among superpowers of the world. There's already a puncture. So, hence there is a puncture, then you are bound to experience and witness what is going on just now. Now, China said once upon a time, there were 10 balloons from US to their airspace. They didn't quiver. They took it hook, line, and sinker. Did they celebrate the balloons in China? 2, is it a time for a payback? So, when you sum up all of these, I think there is need for worry, even amongst you and me. The 3 of us here.
But the Chinese government, they were not worried about the 10 balloons.
They were. We'll see.
They never celebrated the balloons. They just, okay, just bring them down. Nobody even made a noise about it.
China tried to downplay the capacity and ability of the United States of America. That's why I agree with Prof. that there is a third man behind who wrote the script, and China is playing the script. Because if you look at all of this, something is wrong somewhere. Then, now that the United States of America has reacted by bringing down the balloon, and China is now telling you, oh, it was a harmless balloon. In the first place, why must you send a harmless balloon to the airspace of a sovereign nation? Yes, if you claim that they did this to us, who did you tell? But United States of America reacted by bringing it down. For goodness sake, they have all the rights to bring it down. like you said, that by using missile, and I said, even if it is something that is more than missile, they used to bring it down. Because you look at the world today, the security of the world is no longer something that anybody can guarantee. And that is why superpower nations are conscious of everything that appears in their airspace. I did say here that it is not like us that even something as big as an helicopter will appear and somebody will come and tell you, oh, forget about that helicopter. Nothing like that. It was only a bird that appeared on the tree and people started shouting it was an helicopter. That is what we have seen. Our security over here, we don't take it serious, perhaps because of special interests. But over there, they take, the first thing they consider is their security. And that was why you saw the citizens were agitating. In fact, one of the citizens of the United States of America said, for hours, I was in my house, busy gazing at the balloon. Because today, what is this? This has never happened before. Is this the end of the world? If it were to be here, you will see children and say, okay, see that thing. Make her go find out. How does that affect me? But over there, it does affect them. Because their security, they take it serious. So I quite agree with the United States of America on their reaction. And that reaction, to me, is proper.
All right. But these two countries are still doing business. And of course, U.S. is heavily indebted to China. Do you think this will affect that business relationship?
Business continues.
Business continues.
Just like there are some professionals I want to mention now.
Yeah.
Say it's bloody, but there's no blood. We know what we're doing. There are some segments of Nigeria whereby somebody that is your enemy will still lie prostrate and greet you. But in his heart, he's standing. So business continues. But let's test what we have. But I'm also surprised now. I just listened to Barrister carefully. Why would US be surprised? You get the first punch, second, up to the 10th punch. Then so far, they have retaliated with just 4 punches. And that is less than 50% of what you have given.
The US denied that they never sent balloons to China. They denied.
They did. As the Chinese government said that it was an experimental weather gadget that they sent. Yes, of course, it was experimental. Let's go and check the sensitive nature of America. Let's check the intelligence gathering per time. It's still an experiment. So if you do an experiment, whether it's going to be as you wanted it or not, it's still an experiment. If I start to throw and not get up, and he falls down, I'll record he fell down. If he doesn't fall, he didn't fall. So it was an experiment. Since US did not give China any explanation why those 10 were sent, I think that's the defense that China is having now. You did 10, we did 4.
So it is a vendetta.
Presented before any court of competent judicial. Yeah. You did 10, I did 4. There was the wala about. So US should be more careful now, because they want to really test the strength of US militarily and otherwise. Ends the spy balloon. So they want to find out if what they claim is truly there. I'm sure by now China has some records. Whether to believe whatever thing US is saying, they use the F-16. That was what they used against the balloon. So if they use F-16 and the balloons came down, okay, let's send the next balloon that F-16 cannot bring down. So it's an experiment. So the whole thing continues. So the bilateral trade continues. If it gets so serious, no more trade. The money you are owing me, give me. So if that will bring another problem, but China is not talking about the debt that US is owing them. It's not talking about it. But let's just test ourselves. Just like you want to go into boxing. The two boxers are no enemies. Before the boxing starts, they will greet themselves. Once the round is over, they hug themselves. Life continues. So It's just a test of military capabilities. That's what I'm saying.
Test of military capability. Well, during the time of Donald Trump, he never wasted time with this kind of balloons. They've been there. He never wasted. All he was just targeted is the U.S.-China trade, trying to give U.S. an upper hand. Why is Joe Biden so interested in balloons? Donald Trump never had. There was no celebration of Chinese balloon floating around U.S. airspace, and there was no threat to U.S. territorial integrity all through the time of Donald Trump.
You know, Donald Trump was a darling of some of these nations like Russia, China, and others. Even to as far as Iran. He was a darling of them because his kind of person, his character fits into some of the leaders, into the character of some of the leaders of these states. So by the time a bird of a kind or birds of a kind
feather, yeah?
are together, there will be no need for any worry. You see them, instead you see more of celebration and a tea party between or amongst them. But just now, Joe Biden is not a darling of some of these people because character-wise he's different from them. He's a man that keeps to himself. He's a man that wants the security of the United States of America is paramount to him. And if there is any form of threat, the man reacts. And that is what he has just done. Unlike when Trump was there. Trump, even during Trump, about 3 balloons. But also, look at it. Record has it that those balloons never lasted for long.
But they went to U.S. airspace.
Yes. And Trump, perhaps, Trump may have information of some of those things. You know, the man is another man that plays his card very close to his heart. So he must have been given the information of some of those happenings. But unlike the man there now, was not aware of it. And if you look at it, the relationship between China and the United States of America is dwindling every second. Unlike when Trump was there, Trump tried to see how he could build more relationship between China, Russia, and others. But just now, the case is different. So when you look at all of that, and like we say here, paddy, there is not a paddy to some of these men. So because of that, they may also try to do something to see how they will test his capacity, his ability, his strength, and vigor in carrying out policies and all doings to see how the United States of America is secured. I think I give him kudos for his reaction. However, these countries still do business just like we said. Business as ever. Business go on. Even when we are enemies, we can still do business.
No, we're enemies, we can still do business. No qualms about that. Now, why the agitation of Republicans? After all, when Donald Trump was there, they never agitated that. You reacted so slowly, you didn't act on time. Why are they reacting now?
There's no way Joe Biden would have reacted that the Republicans would have said anything on the contrary. It's the same way in politics. In Nigeria, if party is in power and something bad happens in Nigeria, the first you finger is the opposition party. This is the handiwork of the opposition party. It's have to take responsibility. So at the international level, I didn't expect that from the Republican guys because the war now is about us. It's not between one party or the other. If in the airspace there will be a lot of houses underneath. So if there's going to be an outbreak of anything, the Chinese spy balloon will not separate Republican from Democrat and all that. So this is time to join forces together, ideas and otherwise, with the sitting president on our best to attend to this immediate challenge. And if they have the American state at heart, this is not the time to be divided. After the war, you can come back and rejoice. But now a Rome that is divided against itself will have a major challenge as to how to terminate the effect of an external aggression as its case is now from China. But China is still saying that those things you saw up there were not for any war. We're just doing an experiment. But they should have asked the Chinese government what's the title of the experiment. Every experiment has a title. Every experiment has an aim before you can draw the conclusions. But right now, American government is at sea as to the aim of that experiment. So if the experiment lingers on, maybe a day or two from now, they shut down a fifth balloon. Then next month, another balloon. Then we'll come back to this studio. As Master said, this same thing affects us. So if more balloons are brought in over and over again, we will not be in this studio talking about these things. Because if they could ordinarily shoot at U.S. airspace, Nigeria is most vulnerable. Or African continent, most vulnerable.
Okay, now to call it a wrap on the show, 1 minute each, gentlemen. Do you see the appearance of these balloons changing the lifestyle of an average American? Briefly.
I see that happening. And I do think that America will take the security of the United States of America more serious.
More serious. All right. Thank you so much, Barrister. Honorable?
Yes. It's a wake-up call for American government to revalidate all their equipment, to make them to be more sensitive, knowing fully well that the incoming of the spy balloons may not have come in this year even. So for them to be having a more sensitive facility will be the basis upon which they want to fight these insurgents.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. You've heard them. Let's see how this will pan out, because almost all TV and radio stations in America are talking about the balloons being brought down by the U.S. government. China spy balloon. What is really going on? Is it going to be a game changer, or is it a new phase in the spy business? Believe it or not, countries do spy on each other to have a comparative advantage. But saying it's a weather balloon, and you're saying no, it's not, the matter continues. See you next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.